How is everybody doing? Welcome back to another live stream. Bitcoin continues its downtrend and its bear market, and altcoins are approaching very attractive prices in my opinion. In today's live stream, I'm going to be telling you exactly why I am looking to be buying up these dips and why if Bitcoin and altcoins go just slightly lower, I'm going to be deploying the rest of my stablecoin position that I currently have. Just want to give some clarifications out there. I already am about 70% in the market and about 30% in stables. If Bitcoin drops slightly lower, and I'll be telling you those levels in particular on this live stream, I will be deploying that 30% stablecoin position into altcoins because I believe we are due a major bounce in the coming months. Now, obviously, it's going to take some time for the dust to settle. If we do find a bottom quite soon, it's not going to be a V-shaped recovery. It's going to be kind of choppy, and then we'll start to ladder up over time. But I do believe there is more of a chance of Bitcoin hitting 100K this year than many people are suggesting. And I'm going to get into all of that in this live stream. But before we get into it, as always, hit the likes up on the live stream. Let's try and get 300 likes. The live streams are doing very well lately. And I think it's because of the honesty, right? I was calling out the bear market way before a lot of other YouTubers were. You know, I'll give credit. There were a few that called it, but let's say there was 100 YouTubers. I'd say 90 of them, 95 of them were still calling for 150 to 200K, even though it was very obvious Bitcoin was dropping. So it's great to see the live streams doing well. It's great to see so many of you still around. You know, I'm quite impressed of the number of people who have stuck around despite this bear market. And it's very interesting because obviously Bitcoin had a great 2025, but a lot of altcoins didn't do that great. So a lot of you guys have been experiencing a bear market now for years. So if you've stuck around despite all of that, I've got to give you credit because most people do not stick around during the hard times. But congrats to everyone who's stuck around. I think if you've managed to stick around and you are buying the fear, you're going to be one of the few who do genuinely generate generational wealth. Genuinely generate generational wealth. I said a few words that all sounded the same there. But honestly, I think if you're buying these prices on high quality altcoins, I think you're going to be thanking yourself in 1 to 2 years. And 1 to 2 years isn't a great deal of time. For people in crypto, it might be a great deal of time, but for general investing, 1 to 2 years to wait for generational wealth is an absolute bargain. It's a great deal, in my opinion. I mean, think of all the industries it takes decades to build generational wealth in. Real estate, the stock market. It's very rare you're going to be making 5 to 10x's within a couple years in those industries. Sometimes it's even impossible. So anyway, we're going to be discussing the market. There's a lot of charts I want to get into because there's certain ones that are very much getting close to a bottom here. And I'm starting to get very excited. So smash up the likes on the live stream. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday. We're going to get into some charts. But before we do, guys, definitely check out the new course, the blueprint to navigating crypto in 2026. It is currently officially live. The full release is live for the course. So I highly recommend that you take full advantage of that and you get on the course. It gives you my full strategy for the entire year of 2026. And there's going to be updates on it every single month from myself and the trader within my group. We're going to be giving you monthly updates on that course. There's literally about 3 hours of content, and it goes over everything that you need to know for the year of 2026. Loads of different indicators I use and loads of kind of strategies that I don't necessarily discuss on these public live streams. If you use the code 2026 at checkout, you're going to save yourself a whopping 50% off the course, getting it half priced if you use the code 2026 at checkout. Highly recommend you get on the course. All right, guys, so I posted this chart on X last night. And the reason I posted it, yes, it's a little bit of hopium, maybe, but we were having a voice chat within the VIP Discord, and we were talking about the similarities between the 2019 high and the 2025 high. Neither of these two highs were euphoric tops on Bitcoin. neither of these highs were, highs where many top signals flashed. Now, the difference is this one was obviously in a post-halving year. This one was not in a post-halving year. So it was a little bit different. But nonetheless, it's still very, very interesting when you look at the similarities. Because we had, obviously, I would call this the midpoint. We had a rejection at the midpoint. So when I'm looking at this massive chart, this is a macro chart on Bitcoin stemming all the way back to 2017. When I look at this, I do see a similarity between this mid-cycle point and this potential mid-cycle point, even though we don't want to call it that because technically it was a post-halving year top, which was in line with a 4-year cycle. I look at this chart and I see it. I do see the similarity. And I look at this chart and I see that there's this massive macro support trend line. 2017, 2018, multiple times in 2018, 2019, the COVID crash, and even the 2022 bear market all respected this trend line. And we are approaching it right now, and it's around the mid $50,000 region. I think there's a very strong chance that we get a strong bounce from that point. Now, a lot of you guys aren't ready for the bullish version of me, because I've been bearish all year. It's in the title of the video. I've been bearish all year, and I'm finally starting to flip. Because I'm seeing many things, not least this chart, but the 200-week moving average, the RSIs, loads of different things are all signaling to me that the selling pressure is mostly over. There's probably one more drop left, and then after that, we are heading up, and this time I don't think it's just going to be a short move up. I think it's going to be multiple years of upside. And people are not ready for some of these potential bullish targets because everyone's still stuck in this mindset of doom and gloom, bear market talk. Everyone's consumed by the bear market right now, and they are not able to discuss how high Bitcoin genuinely could go. Because it's ridiculous. When we look at the chart, it's ridiculous where we could actually go. If I just put a price note, and this is extremely speculative, I don't want people to think that this is a prediction. But if I put a price note on Bitcoin for the summer of 2027, in line with this trend line for the resistance, you're looking at 440K. I know, it sounds crazy. 440K seems ridiculous. But for a lot of you guys who have been in Bitcoin for more than 5 years, you'll know that Bitcoin does typically give euphoric bull markets. This recent bull market was not euphoric. When you go on the logarithmic chart on the weekly, there is no sign of euphoria at all with this run-up. This was a steady, higher high, higher low kind of run-up. No euphoria. You can see the euphoria here. You can see the euphoria when you zoom out even more here. 2017 and 2021. You see the euphoria. No sign of euphoria here. It all just looks flat. And whilst I legitimately say that was the top, and I called it on the day, I said there's a more likely chance than not that that is the top, I think there's a chance that we look back at that and we see it as almost like a mid-cycle top. And the same way we look back at 2019. I think that's how it's potentially going to look when we zoom out in a few years. And if Bitcoin does anything like what gold has done, then we are due a major move up in the next few years. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm just putting it out there, okay? You might think this is moon boy stuff. I'm not typically super optimistic. I haven't been super optimistic for years now, but Bitcoin's got so cheap that I am starting to get super optimistic. This is the time to be a moon boy. Not up at 120K when I was telling people that we're nearly close to a top, but right now when Bitcoin's in the 60s. That's the time to be a moon boy. That's the time to be super optimistic for the next few years. Because lots of the macro signals are flashing being extremely oversold. All you have to do is look at the RSI on the weekly. Look at this. And then we can compare it to this chart. So RSI 2018, super oversold. Price reached a bottom. Okay, COVID crash, super oversold. Price reached a bottom. Then this one here as well. Super oversold. Yep, super oversold on the RSI as well. Look where we are right now, guys. Super oversold on the RSI. And the price is almost at that trend line. The mid 50s, 55, 56, almost at that trend line. I strongly believe Bitcoin's probably going to bottom in the 50s. Not in the 30s, not in the 40s. It's not impossible that it bottoms in the 30s or the 40s. Obviously, if we have major black swan events, they could wick us below this trend line, as we saw during COVID. But I do believe that as long as we don't have any major black swan event, we're probably going to stick within this major ascending channel that Bitcoin has been in since 2017. Just putting it out there, guys. But please get your comments in. Get your comments in. Get your questions in the chat. I'm very optimistic here. I've been bearish all year long. All year long I've been bearish. And since we had that major drop the other week, I flipped to being more of a bull. Someone who's buying the dips. I wasn't saying buy the dip here. I wasn't saying buy the dip here. I wasn't saying buy the dip here. I'm finally saying that this is the time to be buying the dip. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I bought into a bunch of altcoins, and I'm extremely optimistic for the next 1 to 3 years. Okay? Now, if we get into some short-term analysis, what we can see here is that Bitcoin obviously was in a bear pennant. We lost the bear pennant. And we've come back down to basically the 786 fib and the body of the candles where we had the flash crash. That's where we've come down to. Not the wick, but the body of the candle. I think that's the right way of calling it. So, you know, you can see what we've done here. Now, there is a chance that we make a higher low, but I still favor one more move down. One more move down will be the true final capitulation move, in my opinion, and that will be the move that will be your last chance to buy. All right? That will be the last chance to buy. And I think that will line up with the macro chart that I just shared with you, this major support trend line. I think that would line up as well with the 200-week moving average, which is around 57, 58K right now. I also think that would line up with the macro golden pocket as well. It also aligns with a major volume pocket of the entire cycle. So there's so many things lining up to me in the mid 50,000 region that makes me optimistic in buying those prices. Okay? Let me know what you guys think. Are you optimistic for the next 1 to 3 years? Because I certainly am. Yes, we could see a little bit more chop, a little bit more downside, but you've got to have that long-term vision. You have to have the long-term vision in this game. And looking at where Bitcoin is makes me think that we're not going to see much more blood in the streets. There's already a ton of blood in the streets, and I don't think it's going to get much worse. If we look at others, another similar looking chart of a major support trend line getting approached here. Now look, this could be the time we lose it. It's possible. We lose all the support trend lines and we just keep going down. But there's pretty strong confluence pointing to a potential bottom coming up very soon here, in my opinion. So I would be buying these cryptos: Bitcoin, Solana, Sui, Casper, Tau, Sei, Asta, Plasma, and then, of course, the VIP gem, which I think has a ton of potential. I'm actually going to update the ROI potential on this because it has come down. So I honestly think this could do a 15 to a 30x. Those are the potential gains I think the VIP gem could do. I'm very bullish on it, and I think it's super, super undervalued. And if you are, of course, in the VIP, then you'll know exactly which project I'm referring to, because you'll see it on the tab. On the left-hand side of the Discord, you'll see all my projects that I hold in my portfolio. But yeah. I'm actually going to do a little, let's do a little experiment. Let's see how many of you guys watching the live stream are VIP members. Let's see how many of you guys are VIP members watching the stream. So if you're a VIP member, go into the chat and let me know. Go into the Discord chat and let me know if you're a VIP member, and I'll shout out every single member who is in the Discord. I'm interested to see how many of you guys are actually members on the stream. So let's get into some of the comments. Hope everyone's having a great day. And we got a lot to get into in terms of the comments. Let's see what everyone's saying. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to mention was this. Highly recommend you guys subscribe to my second channel. I've seen YouTube have censored certain YouTubers, so I've just got a second channel as a backup, but also I do post on it now clips and snippets of live streams. So I understand that a lot of people can't watch every stream. So the most important parts of the streams, I'm actually going to clip up and get them on the second channel. You can see I did that actually here. And there'll also be some additional bonus content as well. But if you go on YouTube, search Crypto Archie Plus, you'll be able to subscribe to the second channel. Let's see in the chat how many of you guys are VIPs. Rin is a VIP. Mark. Brian. Mentoring Dad. I remember you. I remember you. Dork. Chris. All VIP members. Let's see if people actually put it in here. People put it in the Discord as well. Chris. Tompsy. Crypto Chirp. Koshi. Wow, so many people. So many members, man. That's insane. Well, it's good that you guys are watching the streams. Let's get through some of the comments. Let me put this on full screen. Polymarket is saying there's a guarantee that we go below 60K. What do I think? I think there's a very strong chance we go below 60K. Very strong chance. But I don't think we'll be there for long. That's the thing. Some people are saying we'll be down there for ages, but I don't see that. If we do go there, I don't think it's going to be long lasting. Ben Shaw with the $2 says, do we need Ethereum to pump first for alt season? It helps for sure, but it's not necessarily a complete guarantee. We saw periods in, was it 2024 when Ethereum was doing absolutely nothing, but Solana, XRP, and some of the other alts were pumping. So it certainly helps if Ethereum rallies, but it's not always absolutely needed for other alts to perform, but it helps. JP Morgan just said that he's seeing similarities to 2008 for banks. JP Morgan? You mean like the CEO, was it? Yeah, and you know what else I just saw on X? I saw what's his name? Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer was saying buy banking stocks. Not directly, but he was basically saying that they're super cheap and they're the things to be stacking, which I found really funny because, you know, usually the inverse Jim Cramer ETF works pretty well. Whatever Jim says, do the opposite and you'll usually print money. And he's saying that the banking stocks are looking good. So that concerns me, actually. So maybe there is going to be a little bit of pain with the banking stocks. But you know, if there is, that could be a good thing for Bitcoin. And that's not hopium. This is backed by history. If you go back and you look at what happened when the Silicon Valley Bank collapsed, Bitcoin skyrocketed. So if some of the banking companies have some issues, I don't think it's a bad thing for crypto. It might be a bad thing for the stock market, but I don't think it's a bad thing for crypto. In fact, it just legitimizes crypto. What are the odds of a bad bear market or recession, Archie? So I don't necessarily know the odds of a recession, like an economic technical recession, which is 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. But in terms of a very bad bear market for Bitcoin, I'd say it's like a 30% chance that we go to 40K or less. So there's a solid chance it happens, but I don't think it's the base case. More likely than not, I think we bottom out in the 50s. You know, it's funny as well, because everyone started moving their goalpost. Like, everyone's moving their goalpost now. You know, so many people said the bear market bottom will definitely be the previous all-time high. So they said the bear market bottom will be 69K. Then they said, actually, it'll be the April high, 64K. And then they said it'll be the 200-week moving average. And now they're saying it'll be 40K all of a sudden. No one 4 or 5 months ago was saying that we'd hit 40K in 2026. I think it's been the velocity of this dump that's led to so many people getting hella bearish. But no one was saying 40K. And now it's like the mainstream consensus view. I think for the first time, the consensus viewpoint has actually flipped to being bearish. For the first time in a good few years, the mainstream consensus viewpoint, meaning more than 50% of market participants are expecting much lower prices this year. That's the first time I've seen that. And that makes me bullish, because the mainstream masses and market participants usually get it wrong. 8 times out of 10, the majority get it wrong. So if everyone now all of a sudden is saying 40K is a guarantee, come back in Q4 when Bitcoin's at 40K, log off, delete Coinbase, delete your apps, come back at 40K. If everyone's saying that, I'm buying now. Because I know that the masses are usually late. They miss the bottoms and they miss the tops. Same thing happened in 2022. Every single YouTuber was saying $13,000 would be the bottom. And if they weren't saying 13,000, they were saying 10,000. And every single one of them was wrong. And I was buying between 17 and 15K, front running the consensus bottom, because the consensus bottom is usually wrong. Very important that people understand that. Major bank crisis coming? Yeah, because Cramer's saying that the bank stocks are doing well. That's why they're going to crash. Imagine if it strikes again. Inverse Cramer. Chirp is on the VIP bundle. Great to see. Nelson is on the bundle as well. Yeah, shout out to everyone on the big bundle. That's for sure the best tier to be on. Mr. Koshi says, smash the likes. Yep, let's get those likes up. Bring on the bullish optimism, says Mike. There was a question regarding the banks. The bank stocks. I would not be buying them. I don't think they're the buys right now. Just because Jim Cramer's saying that, I would not be buying them. Yeah, Nvidia earnings always affects the markets, but it's usually short-lived. But obviously, if they have a disastrous earnings, then that could lead to some more long-term effects. But usually, the Nvidia earnings are always a very short-term market effect. ABC asks about the software stocks. Microsoft and Oracle are hella cheap. Yeah, man. Honestly, I don't think we've seen a stock market opportunity as good as this in a long time. This is the most obvious, orchestrated dump of software stocks I've ever seen in my life. And these companies that have a ton of revenue, they're not going to die out. They're not going to die out. You know, maybe some of these smaller ones will die out, but the likes of Oracle, I mean, these guys are working literally with OpenAI and all the big AI names with their data centers. I mean, look at this. This thing's come down right back down to almost the April lows. So Oracle's an insane buy in my opinion. Even Adobe. You know, Adobe's not my favorite one, but even Adobe is a good buy here. Super cheap. And Microsoft as well. I think Microsoft came down to its 200-week SMA. Only problem with Microsoft is it does look here like it's losing this ascending wedge, which is pretty bearish. So be careful with Microsoft for that reason. You know, that is kind of bearish, but let's see what it does. But honestly, man, like, yeah, the stocks are good buys right now. I'd be focusing on crypto. I'd be focusing on crypto. Get some of the stocks. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm buying up some of the stocks, some of the software companies. I'm also buying up Netflix. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys every single stock I'm buying because that's for the VIPs. There's some other ones I'm not going to mention, but Netflix is one I'll publicly mention because, man, Netflix isn't going to die because of AI. That's just a ridiculous low IQ notion that Netflix... Do people realize the brand recognition of Netflix? The user interface, the user experience? People are saying this is just going to die because of AI. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, look at the RSI as well. It's incredibly oversold. Could it come back to even $60? Yes, it could. Come back to that 2021 all-time high. Flip that as support. Of course it could. But the reality is Netflix is getting incredibly oversold here. This is another stock I would be buying here. Because I don't see it dying. But yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed to the second channel. The only YouTuber worth watching. Appreciate that. Favorite AI plays besides Tau? Well, Tau is obviously my favorite AI play. I think Virtuals is good, but man, I am worried about the chart. I am worried about the chart for Virtuals. Let's pull it up. Yeah, so this was my Virtuals chart. It was respecting this so nicely. And then it just said goodbye and just comes straight back down and has lost that major support. So I'm a little bit worried about Virtuals because if you look at the daily RSI, it is not bottomed out. Nor is the weekly RSI. The daily and the weekly RSI, both of them are not bottomed out. It's just lost this major triangle that it was in. And it's got this major 10-10 wick all the way down at 27 cents. So unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think Virtuals is going to be one of those altcoins which will go lower. So I like Virtuals. I keep it on the radar as another AI coin to have. But I do unfortunately think it's going to come lower. If we take a look at Tau. Let's see. So Tau is still hanging on by a thread on that major macro support. You know, guys, you want to be buying the altcoins that are respecting the levels. Tau is one of those examples. And even if it does, for a brief period, go below this trend line, and it loses the support, maybe for a week, at least it's held it for so long. The altcoins you don't want to be buying are altcoins that are just completely in price discovery to the downside. Or at least you don't want to be buying them as heavy as the ones that are respecting the levels. I mean, I'm buying XPL, that's in price discovery to the downside, but I'm not buying as much XPL as I am some of the other alts, which are following the levels more. You know, another altcoin example that's just continuing to dump to the downside, making new lows, is Fartcoin. Another one that I would be very cautious of. But something like Tau, something like Casper, they would be the ones I would buy because they're clearly respecting a level here. And look, it could lose it, but at least it's held it for this long. And if it does lose it, I wouldn't expect it to be for ages. I wouldn't expect it to be for a while. So yeah, Tau's looking fine. Another one I like as well would be Casper. Holding on by a thread, though. I really need to add that context. It is by a thread. They're holding on, but they're holding on for dear life. And if these hold, this will be something where you look back and you say, wow, that was an insane buy opportunity. I wish I took that and bought as much of it as I could. Man, so many people in the Discord watching the stream. It's insane. Shout out to all the members. I'll be coming on the voice chat straight after this live stream to talk about the market. Where is your buddy, Crypto Galaxy? Bro, we do not speak anymore, man. It's been a long time since I heard from him. Yeah, I just didn't like the way he was operating in the meme coin space. So I kind of, you know, confronted him about it. And thing is with him, he's honest about it. He's open about it. He's honest about it. At least he doesn't, you know, cover it up like some YouTubers do. But it's just not for me, all that meme coin shit, all these scam tokens. I mean, memes are fine here and there, but when you make it your whole entire personality and your whole channel to buy these absolute micro-cap shit coins, I just think it's kind of cringe. Yeah, most of the people who just talk about memes all the time, they have like no knowledge about the macro, no knowledge about TA, no knowledge about politics. So all they've got to talk about is meme coins, because that's the IQ level of some of these YouTubers. They don't have the intellectual capacity to talk about other things other than frickin' Fart Boy and Pengu and all these stupid meme coins. So, memes are fine here and there. But man, I am sick to death of these channels that only talk about meme coins. Make it their personality, and it's all they talk about. It's freaking cringe. Can't stand it. And like I said, I'll buy memes here and there. But it's not my whole freaking channel. But guys, Casper on major support. Tau on major support, Bitcoin approaching major support, others approaching major support. I'm just seeing many signs here that we are reaching exhaustion of the sellers. I think the sellers are starting to get exhausted, and we're going to start seeing many bullish divergences getting printed. Would I consider Troll again? It's on Binance and Coinbase. You know, it's always risky getting into a meme that's already done insane gains for people. Like, I made a 24x on Troll, and so did my viewers. It retired some people that call alone. But when they have those major rallies, it's always risky getting back in on them, because quite often they never come back to those levels. So maybe it'll be fine for a quick rebound rally, but I don't see it go into a new high. Buying Fartcoin in this economy is insane. Well, eventually, man, you know, the economy will improve and it will go risk on. So quite often the best time to buy things is when the economy is bad. Yeah, man, like Crypto Galaxy, he used to talk about actual legitimate altcoins here and there. And then all of a sudden, I think he just realized, like, he can make a lot more money just shilling memes. And so he did that, right? But I definitely think there's worse guys in the space than him, because he will tell you what he's doing. Like, he'll be open about it. You know, there's some YouTubers out there who will literally do all this shady stuff and tell you and, like, just be open about it. And then there's others that will do it and try and play Mr. Good Guy. You know, and really they're a wolf in sheep clothing, in a sheep's clothing, if I can say that. They're a wolf in sheep's clothes, basically. Pretending to be good, pretending to be Mr. Nice, but actually behind the doors, they're doing crazy shit. Honestly, guys, for AI, I would just buy Tau. Just stick with Tau. There's no need for all these other AI coins, in my opinion. Casper looks juicier every day. Yeah, Casper's looking good. But, you know, I kind of moved on talking about all the other YouTubers because it's just unnecessary to spend so much time focusing on these people. It's better just to focus on the market and focus on what we're doing, which is buying these insane dips. And we're going to make a ton of money, guys. So just focus on what matters, which is buying the dips and sticking around. Yeah, Alex Becker tells you he'll dump on you. I respect that, you know? Like, at least tell them. If you're going to do this stuff, at least tell them. So I respect that. What I don't respect is I'm trying to be all, you know, philanthropic and altruistic and Mr. Nice Guy, and then behind the scenes are doing it. That's when it's actually sketchy. But guys, major amount of volume here. There's a huge amount of volume on Bitcoin. And there's just a lot lining up for potential bounce in the coming months. I'm pretty optimistic for Q2. I think this selling pressure is going to be over quite soon. You can already tell the bears are starting to get exhausted. And I think we're going to look back at this very similar to how people look back at the COVID crash. This high, to me, looks very similar to this high. And this low we're getting here looks very similar to this low. And I think we've got a major rally ahead. A sustained multi-year rally. Do I think the same about Avantis as I do for Troll? So Avantis is a little bit different because it's not a meme. Specifically, meme coins struggle to come back because once you lose the hype with a meme, it's typically gone. Once it's dead, it's dead. Whereas with utility projects like Avantis, they have something behind them. So as long as the product remains good and the tech remains sound, then they should make a comeback when the market goes risk on. You know, there's an absence of actual good projects. There is not an absence of memes. There's a ton of memes. And you could even say good memes. There's hundreds of good memes. And that's why it's a lot easier to make money on utility projects because there's less saturation of high-quality utility projects. I could name about 30 or 50 meme coins, which I think look quite good. But I couldn't give you that many good utility projects. There's just not that many good ones. Respect to you, Archie, for standing up and doing back-to-back live streams during red days. I may not agree 100% with you, but I have respect for you. You take criticism as feedback, not as a fight. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. You guys are allowed to disagree with me, right? I actually enjoy the disagreement on topics. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the Discord in a few minutes. So if you guys aren't already a VIP member, definitely join. You can get my new course and lifetime VIP by becoming a big bundle member. If you use the code BUNDLE2026, you'll save yourself a real good discount on that. And finally to mention, before we go into the Discord for a voice chat to talk about the markets, definitely get on Blowfin. This is the exchange that I personally use. And you can get some good sign-up rewards if you actually use this exchange using my link down below. I have limit orders set on Bitcoin, laddering on the way down, and this is also the exchange I use if I ever use leverage. which I don't use too often. But if I do, this is the exchange I utilize. So check that out. There's a link down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys over in the Discord for the voice chat. So get on the voice chat, guys. I hope that many of you guys join. And I'll talk to you all about the